Here are 60 most commonly asked interview questions and detailed answers for SAP MM testing interviews. 1. What is SAP MM? And why is testing important in SAP MM implementations? Answer: SAP MM Materials Management is a module of SAP ERP that manages procurement and inventory management processes. Testing in SAP MM implementations is crucial to ensure that the system functions correctly, data is accurately processed, and business processes are executed as expected, leading to smooth procurement operations and inventory management. 2. What are the key components of SAP MM, and which areas are typically tested? Answer: key components of SAP MM include master data, material master, vendor master, info records, procurement processes, purchase requisition, purchase order, goods receipt, inventory management, goods issue, goods receipt, stock transfers, and invoice verification. Testing typically covers end-to-end procurement processes, data integrity, and integration with other SAP modules. 3. How do you approach testing for SAP MM implementations? Answer: testing for SAP MM implementations involves various stages, such as unit testing, testing individual MM functionalities, integration testing, testing MM processes with other SAP modules, system testing, end-to-end testing of MM processes, and user acceptance testing, validating MM processes against user requirements. It's essential to have a comprehensive test strategy, test cases, and test data to ensure thorough testing coverage. 4. What types of testing methodologies and techniques are used in SAP MM testing? Answer: common testing methodologies and techniques used in SAP MM testing include manual testing, automated testing using tools like SAP DAO or Selenium, regression testing to ensure new developments don't impact existing functionalities, and performance testing to validate system performance under load. 5. Can you explain the difference between unit testing and integration testing in SAP MM testing? Answer: unit testing focuses on testing individual MM functionalities in isolation, ensuring they perform as expected. Integration testing, on the other hand, tests the interaction between MM processes and other SAP modules, such as SD for procurement and FI for invoice verification, to validate end-to-end business processes. 6. What are some common challenges faced during SAP MM testing, and how do you overcome them? Answer: common challenges in SAP MM testing include data inconsistency, complex business scenarios, and system integration issues. These challenges can be addressed by thorough test planning, realistic test data creation, collaboration with business users, and leveraging testing tools for automation and performance testing. 7. How do you ensure data integrity and accuracy in SAP MM testing? Answer: data integrity and accuracy in SAP MM testing can be ensured by using realistic test data that reflects real-world scenarios, performing data validation checks at each stage of the procurement process, and reconciling test results against expected outcomes. 8. What is the purpose of regression testing in SAP MM, and how is it performed? Answer: regression testing in SAP MM ensures that new developments or system changes do not negatively impact existing functionalities. It involves rerunning previously executed test cases to validate that existing functionalities still work as expected after system changes. 9. Can you explain the concept of end-to-end testing in SAP MM, and why is it important? Answer: end-to-end testing in SAP MM validates the entire procurement process from requisition creation to invoice verification. It ensures that all MM functionalities work seamlessly together and that data flows accurately across different stages of the procurement cycle, ultimately ensuring a smooth procurement process for end users. 10. How do you handle test case management and execution in SAP MM testing projects? Answer: test case management in SAP MM testing involves defining test scenarios, creating test cases covering various processes, and organizing them into test suites. Test execution involves running test cases, recording test results, and documenting any defects found during testing. 11. What are some key performance indicators, KPIs, used to measure the success of SAP testing projects? Answer. Key performance indicators used to measure the success of SAP testing projects include defect density, number of defects found per test case, test coverage, percentage of processes covered by testing, defect resolution rate, speed at which defects are resolved, and test efficiency, number of test cases executed per unit of time. 12. How do you ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and industry standards in SAP testing? Answer. Compliance with regulatory requirements and industry standards in SAP testing can be ensured by mapping test cases to relevant regulations and standards, conducting compliance testing, and documenting compliance evidence as part of the testing process. 13. Can you explain the role of user acceptance testing UAT in SAP implementations? Answer. User acceptance testing UAT in SAP implementations involves business users validating processes against their requirements and expectations. It ensures that the SAP system meets user needs, is intuitive to use, and supports efficient procurement operations and inventory management. 14. How do you handle defect management and resolution in SAP testing projects? Answer. Defect management in SAP testing projects involves capturing, prioritizing, and tracking defects throughout the testing lifecycle. Defects are typically logged in a defect tracking tool such as HPARM or Jira, assigned to responsible parties for resolution, and retested once fixed. 15. What are some best practices for SAP testing, and how do you ensure testing efficiency and effectiveness? Answer. Some best practices for SAP testing include: A. Establishing clear testing objectives and requirements. B. Developing comprehensive test plans and test cases. C. Using automated testing tools to increase testing speed and coverage. D. Collaborating closely with business users and stakeholders. E. Continuously monitoring and optimizing the testing process for efficiency and effectiveness. 16. What is the difference between positive testing and negative testing in SAP Answer. Positive testing involves validating that the system behaves as expected when valid input is provided, while negative testing involves validating that the system handles invalid inputs or error conditions correctly. 17. How do you perform regression testing in SAP and why is it important? Answer. Regression testing in SAP involves executing previously executed test cases after system changes to ensure that existing functionalities are not impacted. It's important because even minor system changes can unintentionally introduce defects or disrupt existing processes. 18. Can you explain the role of a test environment in SAP testing, and how do you set it up? Answer. A test environment in SAP testing is a replica of the production environment where testing activities are conducted. It should mirror the production system's configurations, master data, and business processes. Setting up a test environment involves system provisioning, data copying, and configuration replication from the production environment. 19. What are some common challenges faced when setting up a test environment for SAP testing, and how do you address them? Answer. Common challenges include data privacy concerns, limited resources, and data synchronization issues between the test and production environments. These challenges can be addressed by anonymizing sensitive data, allocating sufficient hardware resources, and implementing data refresh mechanisms to keep test data up to date. 20. How do you ensure the reliability and accuracy of test data in SAP testing? Answer. Reliability and accuracy of test data in SAP testing can be ensured by using realistic and representative test data that closely resembles real-world scenarios. Test data should cover various procurement processes, material types, vendor information, and inventory scenarios to validate system behavior comprehensively. 21. What is the purpose of end-to-end testing in SAP MM, and how do you approach it? Answer. End-to-end testing in SAP MM validates the entire procurement process, from requisition creation to goods receipt and invoice verification. It ensures that all MM functionalities work seamlessly together and that data flows accurately across different stages of the procurement cycle. Approach it by creating test scenarios that cover end-to-end business processes and executing them in a controlled testing environment. 22. How do you perform integration testing for SAP MM with other SAP modules like SD and FI? Answer. Integration testing for SAP MM involves validating the interaction between MM processes and other SAP modules like SD sales and distribution for procurement and FI financial accounting for invoice verification. It includes testing data exchange, process integration, and end-to-end business scenarios across multiple modules. 23. Can you explain the role of a test plan in SAP MM testing and what elements it should include? Answer. A test plan in SAP MM testing outlines the testing approach, objectives, scope, and resources required for testing activities. It should include elements such as test objectives, test scope, test strategy, test deliverables, test schedules, resource allocation, and risk assessment. 24. How do you ensure test coverage in SAP MM testing, and why is it important? Answer. Test coverage in SAP MM testing refers to the extent to which MM functionalities and business scenarios are tested. It's important because comprehensive test coverage ensures that all critical business processes are validated, reducing the risk of defects and ensuring system reliability and accuracy. 25. What is the purpose of a test case in SAP MM testing, and how do you create effective test cases? Answer. A test case in SAP MM testing specifies the inputs, actions, and expected outcomes for testing a specific MM functionality or business scenario. Effective test cases should be clear, concise, and verifiable, covering both positive and negative scenarios, and should address all possible combinations of input data and system conditions. 26. How do you prioritize test cases in SAP MM testing, and what factors do you consider? Answer. Test case prioritization in SAP MM testing involves identifying critical business processes, high-risk functionalities, and key system dependencies. Factors to consider include business impact, frequency of use, complexity, and dependencies on other modules or system components. 27. Can you explain the concept of smoke testing in SAP MM, and when is it performed? Answer. Smoke testing in SAP MM involves executing a subset of critical test cases to ensure that the system is stable and ready for more extensive testing. It's performed after system changes, patches, or configurations to quickly validate system integrity before proceeding with more comprehensive testing. 28. What is the purpose of a traceability matrix in SAP MM testing, and how do you create one? Answer. A traceability matrix in SAP MM testing maps test cases to requirements, ensuring that each requirement is adequately covered by test cases. It helps track the progress of testing activities, identify coverage gaps, and ensure that all business requirements are validated through testing. 29. How do you ensure test execution efficiency and effectiveness in SAP MM testing? Answer. Test execution efficiency and effectiveness in SAP MM testing can be enhanced by prioritizing test cases, using test automation for repetitive tasks, parallelizing test execution, and leveraging testing tools for defect management and reporting. 30. What is the role of a test automation framework in SAP MM testing? And how do you select one? Answer. A test automation framework in SAP MM testing provides a structured approach to automate test case execution, data management, and reporting. When selecting a framework, consider factors such as compatibility with SAP technologies, support for scripting languages, ease of maintenance, and scalability. 31. How do you ensure compatibility and consistency across different SAP MM testing environments? Answer. Compatibility and consistency across SAP MM testing environments can be ensured by using version control for test artifacts, standardizing configurations and master data, and maintaining synchronization between environments through regular data refreshes and environment validations. 32. Can you explain the concept of usability testing in SAP MM, and why is it important? Answer. Usability testing in SAP MM evaluates the system's ease of use, intuitiveness, and user experience from an end-user perspective. It's important because a user-friendly interface and intuitive navigation enhance user adoption, productivity, and satisfaction with the SAP MM system. 33. How do you ensure test data security and confidentiality in SAP MM testing projects? Answer. Test data security and confidentiality in SAP MM testing projects can be ensured by anonymizing sensitive data, masking personally identifiable information, and implementing access controls and encryption mechanisms to protect test data from unauthorized access or disclosure. 34. What are some best practices for defect triage and resolution in SAP MM testing projects? Answer. Best practices for defect triage and resolution in SAP MM testing projects include promptly triaging defects based on severity and impact, assigning them to responsible parties for resolution, providing detailed defect descriptions and reproducible steps, and tracking defect status through closure. 35. How do you ensure knowledge transfer and documentation of testing processes in SAP MM testing projects? Answer. Knowledge transfer and documentation in SAP MM testing projects involve documenting test plans, test cases, test scripts, and test results, as well as capturing lessons learned and best practices for future reference. Training sessions, workshops, and knowledge-sharing forums can also facilitate knowledge transfer among team members. 36. What is the importance of performance testing in SAP MM, and how is it conducted? Answer. Performance testing in SAP MM ensures that the system performs well under expected workload conditions. It involves simulating real-life user loads to identify bottlenecks and assess the system's response times, throughput, and scalability. Tools like SAP LoadRunner can be used to conduct performance testing, assessing how the system handles multiple transactions, particularly in procurement and inventory management scenarios. 37. How do you manage test cycles in SAP MM projects? Answer. Managing test cycles in SAP MM projects involves planning, executing, and monitoring testing activities in phases or cycles. Each cycle includes a set of test cases designed to validate specific functionalities or integrated scenarios. The use of test management tools helps in tracking test execution, recording outcomes, and ensuring that all test cycles are completed before moving to production. 38. What strategies do you use for testing SAP MM customizations? Answer. Testing SAP MM customizations requires a thorough understanding of the customized functionality and its impact on standard processes. Strategies include creating detailed test scenarios that cover both standard and customized functionalities, rigorous regression testing to ensure new customizations do not disrupt existing functionality, and involving end users in the testing process to verify the usability and effectiveness of the customizations. 39. How do you handle testing for SAP MM updates and patches? Answer. Testing for SAP MM updates and patches involves first identifying the changes introduced and their potential impacts. Regression testing is critical, using automated test scripts where possible to quickly verify that existing functionalities remain unaffected. Additionally, specific test cases should be designed to test the new updates directly, ensuring they perform as expected without introducing new issues. 40. What are the key elements of a risk-based testing approach in SAP MM? Answer. A risk-based testing approach in SAP MM prioritizes test activities based on the risk of failure and the impact of potential failures on business operations. Key elements include risk identification, assessment, and prioritization, designing test cases that focus on high-risk areas, and allocating resources to ensure critical functionalities are thoroughly tested. 41. Can you discuss the use of mock data in SAP MM testing and its benefits? Answer. Mock data is used in SAP MM testing to simulate real-world data scenarios, without the risks or constraints associated with using actual sensitive data. Benefits of using mock data include the ability to test the system under controlled conditions, ensuring data security, and allowing testers to systematically explore different data-driven scenarios without impacting live systems. 42. How do you validate data integrity in SAP MM testing? Answer. Validating data integrity involves ensuring that data remains accurate and consistent throughout its life cycle across all MM processes. This can be achieved by implementing data integrity checks, such as verifying that transaction data matches across linked documents, for example, purchase orders and goods receipts, and using database validation tools to ensure that data storage and retrieval processes do not introduce errors. 43. What methodologies are commonly used for SAP MM testing, and why? Answer. Common methodologies for SAP MM testing include Agile, Waterfall, and V-Model. Agile is favored for its flexibility and iterative approach, allowing for a continuous testing and adaptation. Waterfall is used for its structured, sequential approach, suitable for projects with well-defined requirements. The V-Model emphasizes validation and verification, with testing integrated into each phase of development. 44. What role does user acceptance testing UAT play in SAP MM implementations? Answer. User acceptance testing UAT in SAP MM implementations is crucial for ensuring that the system meets business requirements and is user-friendly. UAT involves real end users testing the system to validate its functionality, usability, and compliance with business processes. This testing phase is critical for gaining user buy-in and confirming system readiness for go-live. 45. How do you ensure the traceability of defects in SAP MM testing? Answer. Ensuring the traceability of defects in SAP MM testing involves maintaining detailed records of test cases, test results, and defect reports. A traceability matrix is used to link defects to their corresponding test cases and requirements. This helps in identifying the origin of defects, analyzing the impact, and facilitating efficient defect resolution. 46. Can you explain the process of load testing in SAP MM, and why is it critical? Answer. Load testing in SAP MM involves testing the system's behavior under expected operational loads to assess performance criteria such as response times and system stability. It's critical because it ensures that the system can handle peak business loads without performance degradation, which is essential for maintaining business continuity and user satisfaction. 47. How do you approach cross-module testing in SAP MM with other integrated SAP systems? Answer. Cross-module testing in SAP MM with other SAP systems, like SAP Finance or SAP Sales and Distribution, requires a comprehensive understanding of interconnected processes. The approach involves creating integrated test scenarios that span multiple modules, ensuring data and process flow across the modules work as expected, and using integration testing techniques to validate the interfaces and data exchanges. 48. How does automation improve the efficiency of SAP MM testing? Answer. Automation in SAP MM testing improves efficiency by reducing the time and effort required to execute repetitive test cases, increasing the accuracy of test executions, and enabling more frequent testing cycles. Automated tests can be quickly rerun to validate the system after changes or updates, providing immediate feedback and reducing the overall testing timeline. 49. What are the challenges of manual testing in SAP MM, and how can they be mitigated? Answer. Challenges of manual testing in SAP MM include the potential for human error, time-consuming test executions, and difficulty in performing exhaustive testing. These challenges can be mitigated by integrating a balanced approach of manual and automated testing, focusing manual efforts on exploratory, usability, and ad hoc testing scenarios where human judgment is crucial. 50. Describe the role of a test manager in an SAP MM implementation project. Answer. The role of a test manager in an SAP MM implementation project includes planning, coordinating, and overseeing all testing activities to ensure the solution meets business requirements. Responsibilities include defining the testing strategy, managing the testing team, allocating resources, ensuring compliance with testing best practices, and communicating test progress and outcomes to stakeholders. 51. What is regression testing, and why is it important in SAP MM? Answer. Regression testing involves rerunning functional and non-functional tests to ensure that previously developed and tested software still performs after a change. In SAP MM, it is critical because it ensures that new changes like patches or enhancements do not adversely affect existing functionalities, which is essential for maintaining system stability and reliability. 52. How do you manage testing documentation in SAP MM projects? Answer. Managing testing documentation in SAP MM projects involves keeping comprehensive records of all test plans, test cases, test results, and defect reports. Tools like SAP Solution Manager or other test management software are used to maintain and update documentation, ensuring accessibility and traceability for all project stakeholders. 53. What is the impact of inadequate testing in an SAP MM implementation? Answer. Inadequate testing in an SAP MM implementation can lead to critical issues in the system, such as incorrect data processing, compliance issues, and operational disruptions, which can affect business operations and result in financial losses and reduced user confidence in the system. 54. How do you ensure compliance with industry standards during SAP MM testing? Answer. Ensuring compliance with industry standards during SAP MM testing involves adhering to relevant regulations and standards, conducting compliance-specific testing scenarios, and engaging with regulatory bodies if necessary. Documentation and traceability of testing activities are crucial for demonstrating compliance during audits. 55. How do you prepare for go-live testing in SAP MM? Answer. Preparing for go-live testing in SAP MM involves performing a series of final tests to ensure the system is fully functional and ready for production. This includes completing all functional, integration, performance, and user acceptance tests. A go-live checklist is typically used to verify that all critical components are tested and any major issues are resolved before the live deployment. 56. Can you explain the process of integration testing in SAP MM? Answer. Integration testing in SAP MM involves verifying the interfaces and data flows between MM and other SAP modules or external systems. The process includes defining test scenarios that cover all aspects of data exchange and process integration, executing these tests, and monitoring the results to ensure seamless operation across the integrated landscape. 57. What tools and technologies are commonly used in SAP MM testing? Answer. Common tools and technologies used in SAP MM testing include SAP Solution Manager for test management, SAP DAO test acceleration and optimization for automated test case generation, HPOM for overall test planning and execution, and Selenium for automating web-based applications. 58. How do you assess and handle security vulnerabilities during SAP MM testing? Answer. Assessing and handling security vulnerabilities during SAP MM testing involves conducting security-specific tests such as penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, and authorization checks. It's crucial to collaborate with security experts to identify potential security risks and implement necessary patches or configuration changes. Regular security assessments and adherence to best practices in data protection and access control are essential to safeguard the system against threats. 59. What is the significance of test data management in SAP MM testing? Answer. Test data management is significant in SAP MM testing because it ensures the availability, security, and relevance of data used during testing phases. Proper test data management helps in creating realistic test scenarios, maintaining data integrity, and complying with data protection regulations. Effective strategies include using data masking and anonymization techniques to protect sensitive information and employing tools to manage and generate consistent test data sets. 60. Describe a typical scenario for end-to-end testing in SAP MM. Answer. A typical scenario for end-to-end testing in SAP MM involves the entire procurement process. This would start from creating a purchase requisition, converting it into a purchase order, goods receipt against the order, invoice posting, and finally payment processing. The test would cover all functionalities and integrations with finance and controlling modules to ensure that the data flows correctly through the system and all business rules are adhered to consistently. These 60 interview questions cover a broad spectrum of topics within SAP MM testing, ranging from general methodologies, specific testing techniques, and the handling of various testing scenarios to integration with other modules, compliance issues, and tool utilization. Each question is crafted to elucidate the candidate's depth of knowledge, practical experience, and ability to handle real-world challenges in the realm of SAP MM, ensuring thorough preparation for potential job interviews in this field. This comprehensive set provides a solid foundation for assessing proficiency in SAP MM testing, emphasizing the importance of strategic testing practices to optimize system performance and reliability. For more exciting tips, tricks, and more importantly for valuable insights of interviews, please share, like, and subscribe to my channel. It has a lot of valuable information about various insights of interviews. It has a wide range of real-world portfolio projects of various technologies for interviews, and it has wide range of most asked interview questions and answers of various technologies like data science, SAP, AWS, DevOps, and full-stack web development and more that will be useful during interviews. It has a wide range of most asked interview questions and answers and real-world portfolio projects of various technologies for freshers, for 2 to 3 years experienced candidates, and 4-5 or above years experienced candidates to test their skills by knowing most asked interview questions and make themselves ready for interviews.